in this scene were priceless. Like I watched it once in a multiplex and once in a single screen over here. People are reacting, like how over here people clapped. There are claps and whistles all through that sequence. So I think that's the biggest validation that you can get as a performer as well when people are.
Yes, yeah. As in, all of us live for it, right? Like when you're doing a theater performance, if you can make your audience clap for you at that moment, it gives you such a high that the next scene you do it better. So now that I got all these claps and whistles, now like I'm going to make sure that I will work myself for this
Something.
to happen. Happen once, twice, tenfolds, anything, but I'll work for this. Now, this is my motivation.
Yeah, true. But Rashmika, you had a monologue in Animal as well, and now you had monologue over here. What parallels you draw between the two? Both happen somewhere in middle of the second half, and there is a scenario where you have to express your angst.
I think it comes with the cinema, it comes with the story. Nobody writes thinking that, okay, we need to give her a monologue here, so we'll write the story accordingly. It just comes in the story. The thing is, if you're able to deliver a monologue like that, the director will be comfortable to go full on and say, okay, this girl can deliver, so we'll write it this way. If I wasn't able to deliver the same way, they'd probably take the same thing in a different manner, but I got the opportunity in both my biggest films in my career to deliver such a performance. I think it was definitely not planned, but at the same time I'm glad I got it, and I'm glad that I worked with directors who pushed me to do something which I thought was impossible of me.
But another parallel that I draw from the two films about your character is that your character has a sense of power, because there are these macho characters, be it Ranvijay Singh or Pushpa, who are vulnerable when it comes to your character. Do you see that sense of power in your character when you're hearing it? That
See, like I take my characters to be very human. Like example, if I put you in a situation where I push you to the corner, and either you have to stand up for yourself or you have to stand up to your for your partner, but you have no other choice but to do that. You will stand up. You will express yourself in a way that you never thought you could. Like I, in my entire life, have never raised my voice. The first time I actually raised my voice was Animal, Geetanjali's character. And I, like, that's when I figured out that I had this voice to raise, because like suddenly I was like, where is this voice coming from? I didn't think I was capable of this. Suddenly, when, Srivalli, I remember the day of the shoot that day, like while rehearsing, you're talking to the director personally, na? Like one on one. So you're talking, even if you're doing your rehearsal, you're not giving 100%. You're like, okay, sir, this is how I'm going to say, this is what I'm going to say. Suddenly, when the action was called off, and I'm like, yo, when I started off that, na, there was pin drop silence. Because, see, one thing is nobody expects a character which is so mellow and so endearing and so loving to raise her voice like that. But the second she raises her voice, no, you get pin drop silence from everyone. And imagine there were like some 500 people on floor that day, and everyone were like zilch, like not a pin drop silent. So I felt like when you use your voice as your power, you need to choose well where you want to use it. If you're all the time screaming,
no one will.
yeah, it doesn't hold power. The power comes in one, silence, if you want to go that way. Otherwise, if you're silent throughout, when you outburst, no, and if you get that moment to outburst, no, you will have everyone's silence.
That's true. I think basically use your words wisely. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
and also like we're all human. Like whilst we have a very soft side to us, if someone throws like pushes us to the cliff, I think all of us will have a macha. Wait, hold on. You keep quiet moment.
That's true. But Rashmika, there is the song which has become a rage, that is Angaro.
Yeah, yeah.
For me, the most beautiful part of that song was we didn't know how it will play
I
out.
know. I think that's the fun
Yeah.
of it. Like I think that's what because when the song released, I was like, because I'd seen what we had shot, right? So I was like, why aren't they releasing the song? It's massive. It's so beautiful. The choreography is amazing. Like, but why aren't you showing people the visuals? But today, when we get the reaction from the theater, we're like, ah, okay.
So, but how was the experience of shooting for that entire song? I think we have not seen visuals like this in a song in longest time, or probably never. I don't know. At least in last 15 years, I have not seen such kind of visuals.
Yeah, yeah.
What was it like shooting for it, and when the lyrical came out with some BTS videos?
Yeah, yeah.
How did you react? Like, were you anxious that why this? Why not the actual visuals?
No, see, when you're already making a film like Pushpa, which is so unconventional because, see, it's a film where you have the class and the mass in the same space. Like it's a very thin line. It can go too much this, too much that. And the only man who can pull something off is Sukumar sir. It's incredible how what a genius he is. And with so much conviction, only actor who can do this is Allu Arjun sir. Like, I don't think I will ever in my life witness what he's done in terms of, imagine who has the guts and the power to and the alphaness to wear a sari, dance in a sari, do an action in a sari, have a talkie portion in a sari, and 21 minutes of a film he's in a freaking sari. Like, tell me what man can do that? I think he has won my absolute respect and absolute love when he did that. And for life, I'm just going to be rooting for him. I'm always going to pray and wish well for him. It's incredible, no? Like, it's amazing.
Yeah, that scene is like outstanding. Like, I was watching the film at the media screening and I felt like standing up and clapping, which I did eventually when I watched it in Gaiety.
Yeah, it's incredible. And the first day, I watched the film with him, and for the first time, I watched the visuals because I'm not an actor who will go to the monitor constantly and check myself or check performances or something. I'm not that person. But for the first time, when I watched it in the theater, I was like, I'm generally when I watch mass films, now I watch like a mass audience also. Like I'll whistle, I'll dance, I will scream, I will shout, I'll do all of that. But for the first time, I was so fascinated that I just sat there and I was like, what is going on? Like, I feel like it was something which, first of all, I didn't even dream of. And secondly, being a part of a film this euphoric, like it just sends you to a place where it's something else, and that's when I realized that this is cinema, this is why we make films, this is what it is, this is, I don't know, I was just mind blown with my own film.
If it's a film like Pushpa, I think anyone would be mind blown by their
Yeah,
own
yeah,
work.
yeah. It deserves. I think Sukumar sir, the leader, the man who has envisioned all of this. My God, what is this?
Yeah, what follows the song is the entire Jatra action sequence. Were you on the set when that sequence was shot? How did you?
Yes, I was. And the thing now with Pushpa action, everything actually, what we've shot with Pushpa, even the small scene where, okay, example, one character is moving from point A to point B. We will take a whole entire day to shoot that. Because I've been on set where sometimes we shoot 4 scenes in one day because we're like, quick, 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 quick. And suddenly here's a man, a director, who's like, he's walking from point A to point B, but I'm focused on how his hair strands are also moving. He's that kind of a perfectionist, and you can see it in cinema today. So imagine a space like that, you have to do action. The n number of days we were shooting the action, the n number of days we were shooting the song. I think we were shooting the song like some 40 days or something. And it's not a like very like Peelings for me is a much more complicated song to shoot. But Peelings, we've done it in 4 days. This song took 40 days or something. So I was like, okay, so this is how Pushpa shoots. But I'm telling you, it's before Pushpa and after Pushpa for me. My life is like that.
That's true. I'm thinking about that entire sequence all over again, and I feel like watching it once.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I was just so spellbound, and I was like, also think about this, guys. Like, okay, here's like, okay, the pregnancy thing happened. I'm sorry if I'm giving any spoilers, but the pregnancy thing happens, and then he goes on to putting the like avatar
Yeah.
because he wants to pray to God about something, and he gets into a sari, right? So after that happens, his song bit, like what was that? Like I saw the rehearsal video of a dancer who's doing this, and I was spellbound even then. I was like, how are you guys going to shoot this? What is going on? And then that happened, and then came one small talky bit, and immediately came the song. Like, do you realize that like that's never happened in, like, at least as far as I remember, song after a song? That is already one genius move with Sukusa, right? And then comes the fight, and then comes the scene. So it's like a whole roller coaster ride happening right there.
Yeah, it's a 21-22 minutes of non-stop
Highs.
highs. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
But
crazy.
yeah. But Pushpa, the core conflict of Pushpa is about ego of two people, two strong-headed people fighting against each other for ego. According to you, what importance does ego hold in one life? How important is it to have ego, but in right amount, probably?
See, I'll just quote my mom on this. She didn't know anything about Pushpa. She didn't know what we were shooting there. Of course, my parents are not involved in my films or my career at all. And I like it that way. It's a choice that I made. But she told me that the only thing differentiating me with you or me with any of you is our egos, good or bad, because we're all eating the same food from this world, we're breathing the same air, we come from the same root, right? But the only thing difference is your ego and my ego. And like for me, I found that absolutely fascinating because that is so true. Like the way you think and I think is completely different because of the experiences and the upbringing that we've had in everything which ego was involved, you know. So today when we have made a film of just this small concept, simple concept of I won't say sorry and I want him to say sorry, right? I think that's mind blowing. If you can take something like that and make a film like this, like what greater talent than that? Like think about it. Like for me, I know, like of course when you make a cinema you have to have that story, this story, mind blowing story. But in the end of the day, we're all humans. We have told all stories. We have so many films coming out every year, every pretty much every Friday, that it all depends on you have one story. How differently do you say it? How big or small you say it? I think that's what the game is about.
True, absolutely. That I mean, there are limited stories in the world which you present it differently based on, like, every filmmaker will have a different take on the same story. That's how things work.
Correct. A boy meets a girl, girl and boy fall in love, they have a fight, they split and they come together. That is cinema. But how differently do you present the same story? Make cinema.